Hey crafters, are you looking for a fresh design, something a little bit different? Let's head down to the crafting table and let me show you this 2-in-1. I'm bringing you the Book Binding Gatefold. Look how cute that is. Just love this design and there is so much potential. So let's do this. The first thing you need to do is grab your cardstock, and we are just going to make a cut for a top fold card. But before we do that, I'm going to show you a little trick. Let's go ahead and extend our arm. If you are working with the Stampin' Up trimmer, let's turn our cardstock long ways, and let's go ahead and score the entire piece of cardstock. And then we're going to cut once and we'll have 2 cards ready to go. So our score lines are going to be at 2 1/8, 3 3/8, 8 7/8, and now we are going to turn it to where the short side is at the top of your trimmer, and we are going to cut at 4 1/4. Now we have scored once, cut once, and we have 2 cards ready to go. We're going to put this one to the side, and I'm going to make it later. We're going to bring in our bone folder, and we're going to look at where we have this one score line all by itself. We're going to put it on the right-hand side, and we're just going to fold it to the left. That is our gatefold on the right side of our card. Now go back over here and find this score line closest to the middle and fold to the right. And now we have our other gatefold. But this area needs to be taped down. So let's go ahead and find that score line and just give it a good crease right here. And now you can see we have our opening, right, for our gatefold. Let's get this glued down. So either grab wet glue if you have some glue that will really adhere to this. And I think I'm going to go ahead and use our green glue or our Tombow, because that really does glue really nicely. And we're just going to hold that down. In fact, it typically dries pretty fast for us. Now, I'm going to go ahead and bring in my silicone mat, just so we don't have anything that sticks to our design table. Okay, and now we are simply ready to add some mats for this. Now let me show you the stamp sets we're going to use. We're going to use this beautiful pumpkins. We will be double stamping. This is a 2-step process. For our paper, we'll be using Gathering Together for our patterned paper. And we are going to double mat. So I have taken some gold paper. Now this is just wrapping paper. Can you believe that? We had some gold wrapping paper that was exactly the gold we needed to match this pattern paper that we have. So we're just going to adhere that to the top of our wrapping paper. And we all have wrapping paper because it's the season to have wrapping paper. So I'm going to bring in my Kalel because I do want to wiggle just a little bit, possibly. Just a little bit of glue. Now, if for some reason you put too much of this Kalel or glue that is really wet and doesn't dry very quickly, a tip is to go ahead and let it get a little bit tacky, and that will help you. But I want mine to be able to slip around just a little bit. So I'm laying it down, and I'm trying to make sure that I have the same margin top to bottom and side to side. So I'm just going to set that over here, and I'm going to do the other side. So let's bring in our wrapping paper, our gold wrapping paper. Add a little bit of glue. You can let it get tacky just a little bit if you need it to. But once again, I want mine to wiggle. So I'm just lining it up, just like this. And we're going to put it to the side. Now let's go ahead and bring in our card and lay these mats down right here on the front. Look at how pretty that is. Now this is early espresso, or our chocolate, kind of our dark brown, but I think it really makes these panels pop. Now something else I decided to do, I'm bringing in this beautiful embossing folder, Sunflower 3D, and it is so pretty. So I just took some of that beautiful gold wrapping paper and I ran it through the embossing machine, and I'm just going to put that right there. I'm not even going to double mat it. We're just going to be very careful when we lay it down. You don't have to push real hard, but it is 3D embossed, so it will hold its shape. Now, let's go over some sizes real quick, but I do want to remind you that all the measurements will be listed over on our blog. All you have to do is go to the blog and look for the video picture and then click read more, and it'll be right there. All the materials, supplies, and measurements. But right here, we cut panels, and you will need 4 of these because we are also going to decorate the inside. But these panels are, the first mat is 4 by 1 7/8, and this panel, the top one, is 3 3/4 by 1 5/8. Now this little bitty small one over here, it's not double matted, and it is just 4 by 1. So look at that. I just love that. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is make our square for the inside. And we have cut some more wrapping paper, and this is a 4-inch square, and this is a 3 3/4 inch square. Now, you can go ahead and decorate this a little bit. You could stamp it. I am going to stamp a message on the inside, so we're going to bring in our Night of Navy. And tap, 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 and I'm going to put it just right at the bottom. Straight down and straight up, and you won't get that halo of extra ink around. So let's go ahead and glue these together. We're going to just glue it down to the inside of our gatefold. And I just love how this has 2 unique designs put together to create one new design. This is such a fun card to work with. Now, for the panels on the inside, we're going to do something a little different. Look at what I've done. I have used that embossing folder, and I've just embossed some white paper. Now, there's lots of things you can do with this. We can leave it white like this, or we could rake it, where we take our ink pad and we just rake it across the top. But I think I like the way it makes it look elegant, so I'm going to leave this just like this. Look at that. So pretty. Now, this is a 3D embossing folder, so the crevices are really deep, so make sure you get enough glue. Now we need to create the beautiful design that goes on the front, and we have taken 2 circle dies, these dies right here, and this is called Spotlight on Nature, and we are going to use that 2-step process to stamp these pumpkins. So let's grab some paper and look at the colors I'm going to use. This is a two-step process, so this will be the base of the pumpkin. I'm going to bring in Daffodil Delight, Flirty Flamingo, and Pumpkin Pie. And we're just going to stamp them. Now that is supposed to be there. Now what we need to do is make a mask. So let me show you how to do that. Here's a Post-it note. This is sticky. So I'm just going to use my stamp and stamp it again. And then I'm going to fussy cut this out. And now I am going to bring this in a little bit closer so you can see. I'm going to mat it right here. I'm just going to mask this area. And notice how I'm bringing it back a little bit. I'm not going all the way to the edge. I'm bringing it back just a little bit. And now I'm going to use my Flirty Flamingo. Make sure that you clean off your background. So tap, tap, tap. And I'm just going to stamp it about right here. Now I'm going to bring in my Daffodil Delight or my yellow, and I'm going to stamp the background for a pumpkin right over here. So I'm going to remove our mask and take it to the left-hand side and move it back just a little bit. And we're just going to stamp it. And now we have the backgrounds of our pumpkin stamped, and we have to stamp the front. So to do that, I'm going to bring in Cajun Craze, and that is going to give us our definition. So we're going to start with our front pumpkin. I'm going to bring in the second step, and we're going to tap, tap, tap. I'm going to see how dark it is. We don't want it too dark. And look at that definition. Okay, the next thing we need to do is bring in our mask again. Get that covered right there. Next, we're going to do our yellow one. I'm moving my mask over to the left-hand side. I'm going to stamp off. And now I'm going to stamp our message right up top. So let's bring in our Night of Navy. I want to bring in some leaves, and so we're going to bring in our Old Olive, and I want to do the stem, so we're going to bring in our Early Espresso. Okay, what do you think? Masking can create such a beautiful image. So let's go ahead and put this on some dimensionals and pop it up. Let's bring in our card. Now, when you lay this down on the card, you want to make sure that you only glue down half of it. So I'm going to go ahead and glue it on this side, and I'm going to bring in my bone folder, and I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to give this a good crease. And I'm just going to add some tape. Bring it back in. Making sure top to bottom, side to side. And what do you think? Look at that. Oh, I just love this two-step process on these pumpkins. But when you open it up, it's so elegant. Those sunflowers are just so pretty. Look at that. I also love this area. Now, when you go to put this in an envelope, You might decide to go ahead and put another piece of cardstock. And what is really nice is go ahead and take that cardstock that's going to protect this area in your envelope and emboss it with the sunflower. Would make it even more special. But are you ready to make another card? Let's do this. This is going to be a Christmas card, and we are going to use ornamental Christmas and Christmas greenery. And just a tip, what this means for us, these yellow stickers, is that this is a bundle and it has the dies inside the stamp case. For the paper, we are using this beautiful pack of patterned paper called Brushed with Beauty. So we went ahead and we cut our base card, and we know that that is 11 by 4 1/4, and we made some score lines. We scored it 2 1/8, 3 3/8, and then 8 7/8, and we just went ahead, gave it a good score by using our bone folder. This is the area that we need to glue down, so we're going to give that a good score. Bring in our silicone mat. And you can use your Tombow because it really does stick for us. Or you could use a tape runner, whichever works best for you. I'm going to go ahead and just hold that down. Now look at the panels that we have cut for the front of this card. This is petal pink, and this is from that patterned paper. Just so delicate and subtle. I think it really adds some beauty to this card. Let's go ahead and connect these two. And for our side panel, we went ahead and picked out some beautiful patterned paper along with the petal pink. It's just a little bit different just because we felt like it complemented that. And now let's add them to our card. This card base is very vanilla, and I think it just really adds to the delicate nature of the color coordination of this card, right? We have very pastel colors, and I think it works. The inside of the card, we're just going to use that patterned paper. Look at that marble effect. So pretty. Now on the inside, like we did the first card, you could bring in a 4-inch square and a 3 3/4, or you can just leave it blank and you could stamp something here. So I'm going to go ahead and just stamp a nice big Merry Christmas, and I'm going to use my Knight of Navy. And here we have our card. Now we need to decorate the front. This is where we're bringing in these images. We have this flower, and then we are cutting out using the dies this beautiful die right here. Look at that, so pretty. So we're going to bring in some more vivid colors to go on the front of this card just to make it pop just a little bit. So I have stamped this in early espresso. Let me go ahead and do a little bit of coloring for you. I'm going to bring in the blends, and this is light cherry cobbler and dark cherry cobbler. So we're just going to color the poinsettia. I'm going to bring in my rotating mat. It saves your wrist so you don't have to turn your hands so much. And this sticky mat. And now we're going to bring in the dark cherry cobbler, and I'm just going to go over a few of the lines right there. And I'm going to use my pencil nib. And that just helped define it just a little bit. So the next thing we want to color are our flowers. And we are going to use a light color for them. We're using petal pink. So I'm going to bring in my brush nib because I'm going to flood these flowers very quickly. I like to do that. It gets them nice and wet and ready to accept a little bit of shading from the dark petal pink. Now we're going to bring in the dark petal pink, and I'm going to just add a little bit of shading. And I curve where the flower curves for my shading. So. Okay, it's very subtle, but so pretty. Look at that. Just a little bit of shading. Okay, the next thing we are going to do is we're going to sparkle this up just a little bit. We're going to use our Wink of Stella just over our large poinsettia. This is a wonderful tool to add sparkle, but also we are going to use a gel pen, and I will have this tagged in this video. And we're just going to go over our little areas right here just to add some sparkle to it. And we have cut out these two ferns right here. And we are just going to add them right at the bottom to the front. So all we need to do is add just a little bit of tape on the top and the bottom. And I'm just going to add this just like this, just so it peeks out just a little bit. Look at that, just to give it a little bit of a frame. Now, when you add this to the front of your card, you want to make sure and only add it on half of it, right? We can't go over this area because we need it to fit in our envelope. So we're going to go as far as we can, and we're going to just add some tape right here on the back side of this. Now, you could also add some dimensionals if you wanted. But we're just going to put it right in the center. The other reason you want to put this on the right-hand side is that when you go to open this, it'll squish it. And we don't want it squished right there. So look at how pretty that looks. Now we need our sentiment on the front. So we're just going to add that right to the front. Wishing you peace and joy. Just going to add it with some tape. And there we have it. Look at that. You open it up. Now, once again, if you wanted to add some double mats, you could. It stands up perfectly. So take a moment and leave a comment. Which is your favorite of the two that we made today? Which is your favorite? I'm going to show you some other examples of cards that you can make. I showed this one earlier. You don't even have to add anything on these inside panels if you don't want to. Here's just another version of the same card. Look at that, so pretty. Just to give you lots of ideas that you could use. Well, what do you think about this 2-for-1? We have a binding gatefold card that is unique and combines these two very special designs. We hope that you were inspired and that you take a moment and share with your crafty friends. Let's get this video out there. Thank you so much for spending your time with us today. Maudie and I want you to go out and make it a great day. And until next time, we're wishing you lots of creative moments. Bye-bye.